following episode most likely contains graphic language, details of violence, and murder, and may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 45 of the True Crime Podcast, Murder with My Mother, where I talk murder with some random lady. No, just kidding. With my mother.
Some lady that gave you their womb for 9 months.
10,
10, yeah.
10 months, everybody.
You were
Just
overdue.
this public service announcement. Well, in my case, it was probably like 11, but 10 months. That's how long you're pregnant for.
Nice.
So, yeah, super nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, what is up, everybody? Thank you for all the love on the last episode. We got a lot of love.
We did. We got a lot of love.
We
last
did.
Episode.
Yeah, it was super nice to have Mark again from Vancouver True Crime. Mark does awesome work. I'm hoping that people that were not following him while you listened to the last episode quickly went and followed him, because he is super up to date with all his events, current events. I mean, a lot of the time we talk about current events on our show. I get it from Mark's page, so.
Yeah, and he's like in the know like right now.
Yeah.
Like
so.
in a second.
Yeah, and we may or may not be doing something with Vancouver True Crime. So if you guys love Murder with My Mother and you guys want to support us and watch us on whatever he's going to put out, we don't really know yet, but I'll let you guys know. Last time we touched on obviously all the things that are going on around Vancouver.
There's a lot.
There is a lot. And actually that week that we released we recorded our episode before, but afterwards it was like so many horrible things happen in our city. And it was just like, I know we touched on some of them, like the macings, like the bear mace, and just the
Hitting random people on the bus or the SkyTrain.
Yeah. So since our last episode, there has literally been a murder in front of a Starbucks downtown Vancouver, which, hello, I don't know if I'm going to get sued for having my Starbucks, but everybody, that's a place you go to, and you don't even think about it. So to see someone be murdered inside, directly in front of the door of the Starbucks, traumatizing, horrible, even more horrible that it was filmed. And I know that his name was Paul Stanley Schmidt. He was 37 years old, and he was there with his young daughter and his partner. And
So sad. Like, can you imagine that is what you have to live with for the rest of your life, knowing that your father was stabbed in front of a Starbucks while people filmed?
Yeah, trying to advocate for you, because it was, I know the person who murdered him was vaping. We don't exactly know the exact specifics. Unfortunately, I was actually sent a video before I knew about it, and watching it, very quickly I realized what it was, and I turned it off, because I don't believe that in the final moments of your life, that is a very intimate moment, especially in the middle. There's a guy sipping his coffee, there's another guy filming and saying like, he's dead, bro, and it's
so fucked up.
It's fucked up. And I know that he didn't pass away right there, but yeah, I think he died later in the hospital. He succumbed to his injuries. But it's just, for me, the first initial reaction should not be to pull your phone. I know I've said this 100 times, pull your phone out and film something that is that.
Well, and the fact that we're all so fucking shut off right now. Like, come on, people.
Yeah.
This is humanity. Like, have some compassion, have some wherewithal to jump in and give a hand to your fellow man.
Put pressure on a wound.
Put pressure on a wound. Don't just sit there and take your phone out while someone's fucking murdering someone.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and I could sit here and talk about that for hours, about how it's just not something. People need to be compassionate, and people need to, especially, again, if you see something like that happening, advocating, saying something, using your voice. Yes, it's scary, and especially, again, the times that we're living in our city and other cities, because the whole world has been through something, and we're all a little fucked up. But that is just next level. For me, if you ask someone, excuse me, can you not vape in front of my child.
Yeah, how does that make you deserve to be stabbed?
And again, we don't know what transpired, how it was said, all that, but that doesn't matter because
it's never okay to stab someone to death.
No.
Like, why do you even have a knife in the first place at the Starbucks?
Mental illness, right? Mental illness, trauma. We know, we've talked about these things, but that's no excuse. People need to advocate for themselves and they need to get help. And again, if you feel the need to walk around with a weapon, something is going on in your life that you need guidance. You need maybe some trauma work. You need some meditation. I don't know. You probably need something more than that, but you need to feel it's not fucking cool what's happening.
It's not. And to bring awareness also, there was a man a year ago, May the 8th, 2022, in Port Coquitlam at a school walking his dog off leash.
Which we all know, walking their dog, everybody can be put in that position.
And his dog went running up to a group of people and he just yelled out, "My dog's friendly." And the next thing you know, those men all stabbed the man with the dog. And
they swarmed him.
They swarmed him and murdered him.
And those people the Crown has just announced that they will not be continuing with charges, right?
Yeah, because he's considered, it was considered self-defense, which is fucking bullshit.
Yeah. There's a lot of things, and there's a lot of things we touch on. I know with the murdered and missing Indigenous women, people in general, because we're all human beings, there's people that get off. There was just it's a case that I was reading in Alberta, and this person was murdered. It was on film, on CCTV, and the man got off because there wasn't enough evidence, even though there was blood on, it's just crazy to me, the justice system. If someone murders someone else, at least give them a manslaughter charge. There's no
at
way.
Least. And that's really nothing in this country either.
It's not. You're out in like 5 years. Yeah. So, I mean, we could go on and on and on and on about this, but I mean, to segue, it's really cool because we have our own platform, which, like you guys know, our listeners know, it started just because we were interested in true crime. But now that we do have our own platform, we can choose what we bring awareness to. And for me, you guys, surprise, surprise, trauma, mental health work, sexual assaults, murdering your partner, murdering anybody, murdering a random stranger, murdering.
Murdering in general.
In general.
Gender-based violence.
Yes, specifically, we have said before, Dateline, almost every other episode is either a spouse has murdered their significant other, they've had someone murder their significant other, it's a familial thing, like it's the people the closest to you, or fucking people you don't even know in a random place.
Well, and the thing is that generally in the past, random violence, random murder, random abduction, that's not something that occurs very commonly.
No, I mean, not if you're not in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And you're not, like the hitchhiking. We've talked about that before, but that's not something it's so rare now.
It is rare.
To be murdered by a stranger. But if you look, the uptick in violence, I don't think it's going to be rare for much longer. People are losing it out there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's fucked, bud.
Yeah. So for today's episode, we have chosen, it's episode 45, so we wanted to do something a little different.
And something that can make a difference also.
Yeah, something that can make a difference. So our episode today is, we're actually going to do kind of like an unsolved episode. It's got a lot of layers because it is unsolved, but the prime suspect is someone, it's a lot to unload. So we have talked about the case before. We have
many times.
Many times. Yeah, we actually, for a little kind of preview, we brought it up last episode, kind of asking Mark, because it is a local case. So today we will be covering the unsolved murder of Trina Hunt, who went missing in January of 2021 from Port Moody, which is about a 30-minute drive from us. It is about a 30-minute drive from Vancouver. And
safe community.
Very safe community.
I think the last time that a stranger abduction had happened in Port Moody was in the 70s, back when you said, of course, there was like hitchhiking and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I mean, relatively unheard of for something to happen in Port Moody.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, we touch a lot on, again, just because you live a certain lifestyle does not mean that you deserve to be murdered. But a lot of the time, if you subject yourself to things that maybe are a little more dangerous, a little lifestyle with a little more risk.
A high-risk lifestyle, right? As it's dubbed.
Yes, which, again, we have a kind of an issue with that because nobody deserves to be murdered, as we've talked about. But Trina Hunt was somebody who lived a very risk-free life.
Yes.
She was married. She was living in a beautiful neighborhood. She was in early retirement.
Yeah, so that alone says she was a successful person, had a long career, and had retired at the age of 45, I think.
Yeah, and she had, her partner was her partner for years. I think they were high school sweethearts.
They were.
So it's something, when someone goes missing, and we've said this before, if I were to go missing,
I'd be fucking on it.
Exactly.
1 second.
Right? Your family, those closest to you, they know what's out of character for you. Yep. They know. But the person directly the closest to you, your spouse, if I went missing and my husband had nothing to do with it, he would be advocating.
He would be helping look for you at least.
Exactly. He would make it known that he wants justice. And in this case, that is not what we're seeing.
At all.
At all.
At all.
No. So we did reach out to the family right now, which I'm hoping is a good sign. We were received with very open arms, but the family has been instructed by the police not to talk to anyone media-related, no podcasters. And obviously we respect that. You guys know that we like to tell the story of the victims of these violent crimes before they were the victims of murder, because they lived a life that is not just about them being murdered. No. But what happens is, what we see a lot is, a lot of the time, if you are a victim of a crime like this, your life is marred by that.
And it becomes the focal point. Mm-hmm. Your murder is what you essentially become famous for.
Exactly.
And here on Murder with My Mother, we do like to give the story of the person, what they stood for, what they were doing, the successes in their lives, how they were to their friends and their family, and what a great life they led before this one event led them to become a name that was known by everyone.
Exactly. So with that, we will jump right into the episode on the murder of Trina Hunt. And we actually want to call this the hunt for justice, because that is what we want to do with this episode. We hope to bring the killer to justice. So Trina Hunt was a 48-year-old woman who lived at 38 Hawthorne Drive in Port Moody.
Which was is still a beautiful community on Heritage Mountain in the area of Port Moody. And it's affluent. Like, I think their house was 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms.
Yeah, and it was just the 2 of them. So to have that much space, especially where we live right now, it's like, okay, I'm gonna have a one, not even bedroom. I'm gonna have
I live in a fucking coach house.
Yeah, on top of someone's garage. But it's right now, if you can afford a house like that, and if you can afford to have extra space, you're doing well for yourself.
Yes.
Right. And so, but I just want to say also, we're taking all of our info today from trinahunt.com, which it's been updated greatly by the people who are interested in this case, who want justice for Trina. A lot of people can relate to Trina, because maybe not all the bedrooms, but, Mom is just a year younger than Trina Hunt.
I totally, I've been very, very involved in following this case. Mm-hmm. First of all, the case happened right after we started our podcast.
Yeah.
We are around the same age, same demographic, and it just goes to show, this can happen to anyone. Mm-hmm. And I followed the searches and all of that stuff, very closely. I've had a sticker that says "Justice for Trina" on my car since...
It's right away.
Right away.
Right away, as soon as, everything kind of unfolded. Yeah. So Trina did live with her husband, Ian. His name was Ian Hunt, and he was the CEO of
Clean Tech,
a cleaning company
in Richmond, BC.
Yeah, and I know that he brought that company. He did. I know that they were making, a little bit of $1 million.
He brought it from a $1 million company to a $13 million company in the time that he was there. And by all rights, he was very successful in his career. He was well educated. Trina was also well educated. She'd had the same job for 20 years, took an early retirement. They were living together. I don't know whether they chose not to have kids or they didn't have kids. Anyway, it was just the two of them, 2 beautiful cars, a beautiful house, early retirement.
Lots of family around. Yep. It looked like, they had great parties. It looked like her and her mom were super close. You can see them. It makes me emotional. There's a video of them blowing out her birthday candles and, the mom gives her a big kiss right on the lips. And it's like, oh, it's sad because you see all the love that she had for the people around her. And even the people who now are advocating for her, you can still see. And, they refer to her as the sparkle of their lives, which even looking at her, she looks like sparkly.
It gives me goosebumps.
It does,
even just to think of it. She was so vibrant and so loving. And, even people that she had worked with for years, I think she worked at Shaw Communications for 20 years, and so many of the people that she worked with were still very close friends of hers. Yeah,
which kind of speaks volumes to who you are as a person. There's jobs I've left where I'm like, oh, fuck, I hope I never see that fucking person
When I leave my job,
again.
No one's going to fucking talk to me again.
Well, I don't know if they're not going to talk to you or you're not going to talk to them, but no. Also, with Ian, they were together since high school. So that alone is a rarity, right? You see people get married at a young age, but you don't see them last. They were, successful. They were thriving. There was no history of domestic violence
that anyone had an inkling of. Exactly.
And I mean, we know that sometimes people can be going through something and
nobody knows.
Yeah, not speak about it or not allow people. But for me, it seems the family that she kept around her, they looked very close knit. They looked very tight. And again, I can literally have an argument and I'll see my mom with my partner, if that happens rare, but my mom can look at me or can even be on the phone with me and somehow in the voice, it's like, hey, are you okay? What happened? And I'm like, all of a sudden. Yeah. So the fact that there was no public knowledge
no lead up.
Nothing.
At all. No one, They were not struggling. They were not having a problem.
And not even to just say with Ian, with anyone in her life. Like we have said, we're going to go through this episode where we're going to obviously give you guys the facts. We're going to have a little bit of our own opinions. We're going to have a little bit of kind of things we've gathered. And we've told you guys before, we're in a discussion group that is, at first it was Find Trina Hunt, and we were right in there. Then it was, as soon as obviously everything played out the way it has, it was Justice for Trina. And that's kind of where we've gotten to know Trina. The family and people close to her have uploaded beautiful, we're viewing it beautifully, beautiful photos, beautiful memories, beautiful videos. There's a video of her wishing her uncle, it sounds like, a 90th birthday, and just the way she,
her vibe was super cool and
we can
super
call
warm.
You classic, or we can call you, we can say that, all these things, and that was only about a month before she went missing. Yeah. So she was last seen on CCTV, which, again, everywhere you go, you're being filmed.
And I'm sure, whenever we're out, we're filmed on CCTV. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy now that they can track people so well, your last movements, where you've been. Yeah. And when you go missing and they haven't seen you on CCTV in a while, that means you haven't been around for a while.
Well, also, we know, too, I mean, in this case, I'm not sure, but we know in the norm of someone disappearing, how do you rule out that they have just gone on the lam, right? You check their bank account.
The lam.
On the lam.
You're like an old lady.
I know. But it's because I hang out with you all the time, so I'm just kidding.
Old lady number one.
The oldest lady in the room. So, no, but you rule things out. People closest to you, they would know if it's out of character. Did she run away? Did she have mental health issues that she was struggling with? Did
she get abducted by aliens?
Exactly. All of these things, right? They rule it out. They know your account activity, have you spoken to anyone? Social media. I don't think she was big into social media.
I don't think so either.
But when you have a tight-knit family like that, people know when you're just, you need some time, right?
Yeah.
So it was January 14th, 2021 when she was last seen on CCTV. But that is not the last place she was seen by someone other. Well, that was the last place she was seen by someone other than her husband. So according to her husband, she was last seen on the morning of January 18th, 2021 at 6 a.m. Her husband said that he didn't set the home alarm that morning because he didn't want to wake her up, which I don't know what from that morning was different than any other morning.
Well, and I've seen that when you set the alarm, it really only makes 2 small beeps. And I don't know about anyone else, but that ain't gonna fucking wake me up.
No, definitely not. Barely even nothing wakes me up.
And even if it does wake me up, like you're going to go back to sleep.
Well, because it's something you would be used to. Because if your husband's leaving for work 5 days of the week, you're used to that, like beep, beep, or whatever.
And I think like you guys have to remember too, this was during the mid part of the pandemic. I think it's when everything kind of ramped back up again. Yeah. And, everyone thought like, ooh, shit's getting better. And then it got worse again. Mm-hmm. And I know that he wasn't even really going into work. This was like a day where he uncharacteristically went to work early at 6 o'clock in the morning, but he didn't want to set the alarm because he did not want to wake up his wife. Yeah. So the thing that, when I heard about this on the news, the thing that made me the most suspicious, and I want to say right off the bat, I was like, was Ian got home that day and he saw Trina's keys, he saw Trina's purse, he saw Trina's phone. And her car.
So,
And this was at 4:30 p.m. when he got home.
But he called the police half an hour later.
At 5 o'clock, he called the police to report her missing.
If my partner went missing, heaven forbid, I would probably go to every single person. I would go to Home Depot, first of all, because that's where my boyfriend is all the time. But do you know what I mean? I would rule out everything. I would be freaking the fuck out.
At least call somebody.
Yeah. You should call somebody. Their mom, which maybe, I don't know specifics. Maybe he did reach out to someone, maybe one person, because how many people can you call in half an hour?
No, nobody
Walk
knew.
around, maybe go to the neighbors. Hey, have you seen my wife? Hey, have you seen my husband? Have you,
I would even so much as go into the trail that I knew that
was right by the house.
The person hiked, or that was right by the house, or any of that. Like, it would not be 30 minutes after I discovered they weren't home.
Neon flag, like you guys know we say on here, neon flag, sus as fuck. I'm sorry.
Sus as fuck.
Right? There's just something that resonated with me that was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So to continue on, so Ian was the last person to see her at 6 o'clock in the morning. And apparently he knew exactly what she was wearing. So he was able to give a description, though.
And I could say, like, you guys know, and I'm not meaning to be gender discriminating here, but would Carlos know what you were wearing when you went missing? Even if he saw you for 3 hours wearing that thing, unless it was something that showed a lot of cleavage, would he really pay attention?
Carlos wouldn't even know what I was wearing if he was looking at me.
Yeah.
Like, in the sense of, like, how well he pays attention. So the fact that he didn't want to wake her up, but he knew she was wearing her runners and her jacket and her, that for me is just, it doesn't jive with my old lady on the lam and jiving. It doesn't jive with me, that's not something that I believe. No. So on Friday, January 15th, Trina was texting with a friend from Ottawa. So on the 16th, Ian said that him and Trina drove to Hope for Hope we've talked about before. We've had an episode in Hope. We've told you guys.
Hope is where I used to drive when Danica was a fucker when she was a teenager to try to gain some hope.
Yeah.
But it is like a mountainous forested, like it's a tiny small town in a little valley all surrounded by mountains. It's beautiful, but there's like literally nothing there except for mountains,
campsites, lakes, all this stuff. So Ian had said that Trina and him, they were really sick of everything that was going on in the media, and Trump is something that he specifically said, which, I mean, we all know, but they were going to do something called a digital detox, which the thing that was weird to me, because yes, this is in the timeline on the website, but this didn't come out for some time.
Yeah, a long time later.
Because he right away just said, oh, you know, he was very vague, like, oh, we watched a movie, it was a quiet weekend. It was.
He didn't even say anything about going to Hope at first.
No,
until
that's why it's sus as fuck. So anyway, he said on the 16th they went, which they wanted to go to a campsite. They wanted to leave their phones. We don't know if the phones were left at home or if they were left in the car, but it was a digital detox. So they were not on any kind of digital technology.
And he said they were going to look at a campsite they had gone to in their 20s.
Yeah.
And they were known to go on drives, but it was always drives that had a purpose. It was always drives like to the dairy farm.
Yeah, to do cool stuff.
And maybe this, in his mind, did have a purpose. But they were going to look at this campsite in the middle of nowhere. And the weird thing, too, was that they both had cars. He had a BMW rear-wheel drive, and
Which you can't do shit with, and why would you take it to Hope? Because
and she had a Mercedes SUV that was an all-wheel drive, which they usually drove during the weekends.
Yeah, when he was off work.
And so he said that they went to Hope, they left their phones at home, they went to see a campsite. First of all, if you live in British Columbia, you know that it's fucking cold in January.
Still cold in
it's still
April.
Icy. It's still, there could be snow. I mean, especially if you're traversing to a campsite. And he
said, rear-wheel drive car.
He said they took the rear-wheel drive car and they didn't stop on the way there or the way back. And it's a 1.5 hour drive each way.
Yeah. Well, that day, too, 2 text messages from her friends or coworkers, which turn to friends, obviously, if you're still texting, they went unanswered, which I think Trina was pretty good at answering people in a timely fashion and a timely manner. And again, Ian said it was a really quiet weekend after that. They got home, they watched a movie, and it was just really vague. And so as it kind of is right now, nobody knows what happened. But I know on that same Sunday, and we saw this on the Reddit group. I'm deep in the creep on the Reddit group. You guys know, I know. But he posted something on his Pinterest board, which was a red flag for me that he even had a Pinterest board in the first place, because I don't know. But it said, sorry, it's a little girl, and they're holding their middle finger up, and it says, sorry if I offended you, but maybe you needed to be offended. Here's my apology. Oh, and one more thing.
You can fuck you.
Fuck you. So on that Sunday, Trina actually did reply to her friend.
Someone replied from Trina's phone.
Yes. Well, Trina replied and said, too funny. Delayed response because I'm trying a digital detox this weekend. Haven't touched the phone all weekend. And the friend replied and said, wow, good for you. Must be so much harder when you're stuck at home. And Trina replied, or someone texting from Trina's phone, amen. So if I were texting my mom and it wasn't me, I use a lot of fucking emojis. I use emojis. Same. All the time.
Probably an annoying amount.
Same, because
yours are an annoying amount. So mine
they are.
Probably are also.
Oh, well, I don't know if you guys noticed also, which I've heard Trina, these hands don't stop moving. I don't know if I maybe just wasn't diagnosed with like some kind of hyperactivity disorder.
Tourette's, possibly.
Well, there you go. But, Louis Capaldi.
I know.
Think of. But Trina also apparently was just very expressive, and I like to get that across. Like, sorry, Dan, because every time I text you, I use 500 smiley faces, and it's like that's the thing. She did too, apparently. So the people closest to her, they've never heard her say amen. They've never seen her without probably a smiley or a heart or some kind of emoji. So like Ian, I always want to call him Ian. But, you guys, what rhymes with Ian, and you know what rhymes with Hunt. So I'm just going to leave that there.
If you're confused, go to our previous
every other episode where
we're trying not to get fucking sued this time.
Yes. So we're just going to, like I said, we don't know who would be responsible for this. But anyway, so he said that he didn't set the alarm again on the Sunday. And then on the Monday, he last saw her when he left for work at 6 a.m. and there was no activity on. Like I said, they check activity on your phone. They check your activity in your bank account, your tablet. Did you connect to Wi-Fi?
And she was known to use, like, to be very, especially because she was retired now, so she was very connected to people through other, like through her phone, through her tablet.
Yeah. So there was a scheduled telephone appointment that she had at 1 o'clock on that Monday that she missed, which again, out of character.
Her, yeah.
So Ian returned to their home and found her keys, wallet, phone, like we had said, and her car, but no sign of Trina. Called the police 5 seconds after he got home. It's weird. So on that evening, the Port Moody police canvassed the area and began searching and basically made a plea to the public saying, if you have any footage, if you have any dash cam footage, if you have anything that can lead us to what happened
Trina's
or where she went,
movements.
right? They used scent dogs. But the thing with this is they couldn't pick up any scent.
There was no scent found.
If Trina had been home that day, that dog would have smelled her.
Yeah.
So also they began ground searching the next day on the Tuesday, and the community came together and they used helicopters, they used canines, they used half a dozen officers, they used numerous community volunteers, and nothing.
People from Facebook were going out, like they right away.
Strangers.
As soon as this hit, strangers were searching for her.
We were ready to go.
We were ready to go. And the funny thing is that for someone that is married to this person to be so quick to report them missing, that person also never went and searched for his wife.
Ever. So the police wanted some more footage, so they were encouraging people to come forward if you have any information, if you have anything that can help lead us in a direction, because we have absolutely no idea. So search and rescue continued to scour the area for weeks. And on February 17th, the Port Moody police issued a formal news release, and it basically said that numerous investigative resources have been utilized in our search for Trina, including RCMP Air Services, Coquitlam Search and Rescue, the Vancouver Police Marine Unit, and the Lower Mainland Integrated Police Dog Service. We have also contacted our partners at the Integrated Homicide Investigation Team. As part of the team's mandate, it is to investigate suspicious missing person cases where foul play is suspected. So that was on February 17th. The next day, they said, the police chief Flugel said in an interview that they came to the conclusion that IHIT can no longer continue to assist us because we don't have any evidence of foul play.
It didn't meet the criteria.
Yeah.
There was nothing. It was like she was just gone.
So because of the lack of movement, someone had started a GoFundMe page, and it was at $22,000 when this timeline was made. So now I know. Well, we'll get to that, but anyway, there was a GoFundMe because there were out of options where she didn't just vanish. She didn't just and
I mean, for the loved ones of someone that's missing, I think that has to be the worst thing, is not knowing, like, is my loved one out there in the woods? Are they, are they stuck somewhere? Do they need help? Have they been abducted? Yeah. Are they in pain? Are they being sex trafficked?
Yeah.
So, and often the police will help for a certain amount of time, but when there's no movement, then they can't continue to expend the resources. Mm-hmm. And so for the loved ones of Trina to be not knowing what happened, and all of a sudden, I mean, there's only people searching. They were doing grid searches all over Heritage Mountain, all over different areas also.
But it was around Port Moody mostly, right? So locally. So they expected, obviously, because she was last seen at her home, she walked somewhere or she was taken from her home. So on Monday, March 1st, 2021, a large banner was put on the overpass of a highway, our highway, Highway number 1, just in hopes that someone would see it and someone would be able to say, oh, I saw her. And there was just a big banner just saying missing Trina Hunt, trying to bring awareness. I remember it was everywhere. Yeah. There was nowhere you could go, and even now there's nowhere you could go. Obviously it's a different appeal, like plea to the public, but then it was because they were devastated. They haven't seen her in 6 weeks. But the person that was not at the the appeal was Ian. But he did give the family, it was the Stephanie, who has been the spokesperson for Trina and for Trina's family, the Ibbett family. She read it out, and it said, "The past 6 weeks since Trina's disappearance have been a devastating and incredibly difficult time for me and everyone who knows my wife. I feel the same frustration and incomprehension that her parents, family, and friends share in not knowing what has happened to Trina. I am confident the police are doing all they can to solve this case, and I am hopeful they will bring Trina home." Well, he wasn't super hopeful and super hands-on with it, if that's his approach.
This is the first time that he's even been quoted to do anything.
So on March 10th, it seemed that Ian was on a sabbatical, and all traces of him were wiped clean from the Clean Tech website. He was the CEO.
Yeah.
So for the CEO, which is troublesome to me, because who could clean up a scene? Someone who was the CEO of a cleaning company. But I mean, again, we don't know. Speculation. This is all speculation. And you guys know, obviously, we're very opinionated.
we're biting our tongues right now.
Yes, we are. And we're trying to be, respectful.
But we're not actually trying to be respectful. We're trying to be
of just
of the case, of the integrity of the case.
Exactly.
100%.
The integrity of the case is what we're trying to be respectful of. Nobody else.
Make no bones about it.
Yes.
That's all we're trying to be respectful about at the moment.
So at the time, it was really strange, because I remember that time, it was almost like, I was like, whew, because I was hyper aware. Trina went missing. Shailene Bell went missing, and there was, I believe, 2 other women that went missing around that time, and a man.
Yeah.
And so for me, obviously, I was like, oh my God.
It was
Is
intense.
there a serial killer?
We thought maybe there could have been.
Because it's not, we've touched on serial killers in our area, and Clifford Olson, hate to bring him up every time, but, in this area, he went from Surrey to Coquitlam to Mission, and it was there were rumors going around that someone do not, if anyone tries to stop you in a police car that doesn't look legitimate, don't stop. And we've talked about
there was quite a bit of mass hysteria at that point.
And we were like, holy shit,
what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, and there's those TikToks where a person was rammed in the back and trying to be taken for sex trafficking. So really, we were kind of all thinking holy shit.
Plus, it was a pandemic, so we just had this fucking shit going on that we've never even
So anything could have happened at that time. So on March 29th, 2021, in the morning, the first of 3 human remains are found and reported at 10 a.m. 2 were found in Hope and 1 in Mission, where actually Ian's parents live. And he, after Trina's disappearance, he actually went and stayed with his parents in Mission. So on April 19th, Jordan Natterer was ruled out, and confirmation IHIT has identified the remains, but no other information was forthcoming. So on March 29th is when Ian leaves his home and moves to his parents' home in Mission. On March 31st, the second set of human remains were found. On April 1st, the Parisian and Bell families confirmed that they'd spoken to RCMP, who say that the remains are unlikely their loved ones. That same day, a marked Coquitlam RCMP was at the Hunt's home from before 12 to 2 o'clock. Another detective's vehicle was further up. Ian was not home. On that Tuesday, April 6th, the third set of human remains were found in Mission, BC, and these were identified on May 1st, 2021, to belong to Brandon Sakabow, who was age 23 from Saskatchewan. He had been missing. So on April 18th, there was a candlelight vigil at Rocky Point Park, and surprise, surprise, everyone was there except for Ian. On the 19th, an investigation into the human remains found in Hope, BC, Jordan Natterer was ruled out. IHIT has identified the remains, but nothing else was told.
And I can't imagine being the family just waiting for the news.
No. And I think it was about this time, actually, that Ian had said that they went to Hope.
Yeah,
that weekend.
It didn't come out until later.
No, until about 2 months after, I want to say. And again, that's just me kind of trying to recollect when. So neighbors on the 27th of April saw Ian for the afternoon at the family home after being away at his parents' for almost a month, and it appears as though he didn't stay long at the house. And by this time, too, there were flowers like a motherfucker on that lawn.
It was crazy. Like, it was so beautiful to see the public come out and bring all of the flowers and the signs and Trina's favorite color was purple.
Yeah.
And there was purple flowers all over the lawn, pretty much.
There was. So on Saturday, May 1st, unfortunately, I hit reports that the human remains that were found in Hope were those of Trina Hunt, and foul play is suspected. And we've talked about it. You know, there's a difference. If someone were to go into a place and take their own life, there is certain things that you would find in a situation like that. Yeah. When someone is murdered, there are certain things you would find in a case like that. There hasn't been a lot released about, you know, the remains.
The cause of death.
We've talked about before, there are a lot of the time there's holdback evidence because the only person that would know the details of the murder are the murderer themselves, because two people were there and one person is no longer there. So on May 3rd, multiple news outlets, including Global TV and CTV, they arrived at Trina's home and report updates and flowers being left, right? Mm-hmm. So there were flowers being left before she even was determined to be murdered. There was flowers.
And it was so heartbreaking for everyone because I think, like, even myself included, we're all holding out hope that, that maybe she did just go away or something happened or she was lost and could have possibly survived this long. But to hear that news was such a crushing blow. And I think it really, really, really affected everyone in the local vicinity so much.
Yeah, so on May 10th, Global News spoke to the family of Trina Hunt for the first time since homicide investigators announced that her body was found near Hope. And the family was kind of shedding light on the last movements and conversations they had with her, and they had a plea for the killer. Stephanie Ibbett and her husband talk for the first time in depth about the confusion that Ian and Trina traveling to Hope together with no phones, only for her body to be discovered there sometime later. That's the thing. Why would you not say that earlier in the investigation? This is what we did this weekend. Now that her body has been found there, and somehow you remembered that, wouldn't you remember the last weekend with your loving wife, probably the best, you could probably recollect that, the best ever, because it's something that's so fresh. And if you have nothing to do with it, why would you not give all those details up front?
And
Suspicious.
And then after that, the look of the missing posters started to change after that. So there were different posters being put up after that, and they had pictures of the two of them, pictures of their vehicle. They were dispersed all over, but a lot of them were concentrated around the Hope, BC area.
Yep.
And they said different things now. They said, if you have any dash cam footage, any hunting cam, any forest cam of either one of these people, either one of these vehicles, please come forward, because this is something that occurred in your area.
Well, and that alone, putting him on the poster, you know, there's many posters with her, just her, because she's missing. Now, they obviously know if you're going to recognize anybody, because I highly doubt that Trina was, you know, on the drive to Hope alive. That's what I think. And again, we don't know.
And that did come up with some good, apparently, and this is speculation, I do believe that he was seen, those posters did drum up some evidence, like the fact that he was seen at a gas station in the area.
But
at the
he was
Flying
only
J.
seen.
Only him.
So again, to me, that's telling me that Trina was not there alive with him, or not seen. But if you're together and it's just the two of you.
And I'm sure you'd have to pee at some point during that. I have to pee right now.
Yeah. So on Saturday, June 5th, IHIT and the Port Moody police conducted simultaneous search warrants at Trina's home and Ian's parents. I hate that name. Ian, I want to say Ian and I want to say Lane. God, I'm just going to call him Lion. Just kidding. Ian.
Just kidding.
Because it looks like an L, right? So they can be seen, the police can be seen, and I remember looking at pictures of, they did a lot of their investigation in the garage with like bright lights.
Yeah, there was bright lights like all throughout the night.
Well,
in
and
the garage.
We know when you use when
the luminescence,
there's
that
luminescence, it's going to show.
Yeah.
But if you're not murdered in a way where there's a lot of blood, people are asphyxiated, people are, any kind of way, choked, poisoned, any of those things, those will not leave any kind of physical evidence because you live in that home.
Yeah.
The fact that the dogs picked up no scent to me means she hadn't been there for days.
And it'd probably been scrubbed.
Exactly, because...
by Clean Tech.
Right, exactly. So both Trina's white SUV, the Mercedes SUV, and Ian's parents, Ian's gray BMW. So it's weird because he had Trina's car at his parents' house. Yeah. And his car was at home.
Yeah, because he probably... never mind.
No. Yeah. But again, if you just, maybe if you did take a car to hide somebody's body, you probably want to be the one driving that car so that it's less likely that anyone else can get their hands on it, right?
Unless the memory of driving that car just sketched you out too fucking much.
Exactly. So both of those cars were taken, towed away, and what I'm assuming were combed through forensically to look for any evidence. So that was on the 5th and honestly, the next day would have been Trina's 49th birthday, which I think speaks volumes to what was happening in that moment. I think obviously, I'm a strong believer she was trying to advocate for herself.
Me too.
So on the following year, so that was 2021 when
and then everything just went quiet for a year, a whole entire year. So now they've found her body, they've done search warrants, and then nothing. We were all like, fuck yeah, justice for Trina, like something's gonna happen, something's gonna go down. 1 year later, out of the blue, Ian
Hunt was arrested, and he was seen. It was like a typical perp walk. He had his sandals on. They were walking him down the driveway. They could have done that very differently.
Yeah, they could have done it in private. And actually, everyone was very hesitant to name who was even arrested. Yeah. There was a man arrested. Yeah. That's all the news would say. They would say that he was arrested and that they had gone back to this address and that address being his address and his parents' address.
Yeah. So it was hush hush, and everyone was like, fuck yeah, finally.
And it was a couple days before Trina's next birthday, her 50th
birthday. Yeah. So unfortunately, just the next day, it was reported that Ian was released and there was no charges pending.
And there was a news conference given by iHit that said, like, just so you know, this does not mean that no charges will be laid. It just means none have been laid.
So in the time since this has happened, there has not been any movement, and that's why we chose to do this case and to broadcast this case to you guys, because we keep tabs on Ian. We don't. I mean, but there's hundreds of thousands of people in the groups that are posting pictures of him. If you guys see what he looked like when Trina went missing, he was very clean cut, very
effeminate almost.
Yes, right? If you see him now, so he's gotten rid of both of the vehicles, and he drives I don't want to give you guys the exact kind of vehicle, but it's a off-roading kind of a vehicle you would have,
and it's like fucking like
packed to the fucking
with it. I think it has a rooftop tent.
It probably does. Which Mom also just got a rooftop tent.
I just got one, and I hope I don't see him out sleeping in his tent while I am.
But other people have seen him in the community. People have gone up to him. People are pissed off.
Yeah,
people are fucking
upset.
Pissed off because he is outliving his life, and his appearance, this is to me really suspicious. His appearance has gone such a 180 that, I don't know, when someone alters their appearance, it could be, you know what, maybe he's completely depressed and his wife has passed away and he has no idea who did it. But it could also be a consciousness of guilt.
He has a ponytail, yo. Like,
he does.
Fuck.
He does have a ponytail.
I mean,
you guys know how we feel
I'm not a bully. I'm not a bully.
But
I think that's just like so
it's
strange. It's extremely opposite of what he was appearing as.
And that to me is either, like I said, the first, but I'm thinking the consciousness of guilt. If you know you did something and subconsciously you are either trying to leave that situation, maybe run away, maybe go on the lam, right? He's got all the things. He's got the off-roading vehicle, the disguise, looks like a bushman,
Yeah, it's very different. And that could also just be so he's not recognized in public and harassed, but that's not working for him.
No,
clearly.
but that vehicle sticks out like a sore thumb because it's like literally always looks like he's ready to go on like a cross Canada trip, like at all times. So, like I said, Ian and his family are consistently conspicuous in their absence in helping search for Trina or for Trina's killer.
And I just want to also bring awareness to the fact that not one of them, her husband or his family, have donated to the reward that the family posted. Trina's family posted a $50,000 award leading to the arrest of anyone that had anything to do with the murder of Trina. His family did not kick in like 1 cent.
No, and this is someone, let's say that him, you know, whatever, them as a couple were going, you know, whatever. He's obviously not done anything to help, but his family knew her since she was a young teenager. So even for them, if they really don't think that their son had anything to do with it, I would tell my son to fuck off, and I'm gonna help look for your,
here's some money to like help.
Exactly, anything. So, like Mom kind of touched on, the family has set a reward amount of $50,000, which was renewed to the public on August 25th, 2022. So, I kind of want to end this episode just with saying, if you or anyone you know have any tips, have any information, or are covering for the person that murdered Trina, please contact the iHit information line at 1-877-551-IHIT, which is 4448. Or you can email them at ihitinfo@rcmp-grc.gc.ca. And
your identity will be kept.
It will, anonymously.
Anonymous.
There were some things that we've seen a lot of speculation online. Affairs, what else?
That's what always comes out. Like, you have a reason. You're not just fucking annoyed by the person that you've been with, because if you were, you would just leave them.
Get a divorce, right? And we've said this before in many episodes. But there's things that come up, and, you know, if someone does have information because they were close to the killer, who we have no idea who it could be.
If you happen to have been close to the killer, maybe intimate with the killer, and now you're no longer in a relationship with the killer, maybe it's time for you to make your own life better by absolving yourself of any guilt.
Yeah.
And I really do feel, and I have said for the last month or two, that I feel like it's going to come to a head pretty soon. I just have a feeling about it.
And we wanted to kind of play on that feeling and bring more awareness to the case. We know the True North True Crime is another episode they've done on Trina Hunt. They did two. I know they did one on her with her subsequent disappearance when she was a missing person. Great podcast. If you guys haven't listened to them, go do so. It's a couple. I believe it's a couple.
It is a couple,
A couple from the island, which we're island girls over here. So
yeah. Campbell River.
Whoa. Don't tell anyone from where. I don't know that.
Hillbillies through and through.
Yeah, but there you go. I mean, we wanted to bring awareness. We want to keep her name
on the lips of everybody.
Exactly.
And, you know, we wanted to use our platform for this cause. This cause has been in my mind since the day that it came out. And I hope that it makes a difference.
Yeah. So if you or anyone you know has any information that could lead to an arrest, let someone know. Yeah. Call the police. You could even just call the regular police, 911, and say, you know, if you don't remember the number, you could call Mom and
message it.
There you go. Message it. DM us if you have any information, and we'll
pass it on.
We will. But yeah, I mean, just stay safe out there, everybody. And stay vigilant. Stay vigilant, and
'cause it's fucking weird times right now.
Yeah, there's some weird shit going on. So anyway, that was episode 45.
It's kind of just, we're passionate about it, and I kind of just feel like
we're passionate about it, but we're trying to really, if any of you guys know, you're probably like, oh, this episode, they don't say fuck enough in this episode, because we want to say, like,
we want to say fuck, but we want to say the name, and we want to say what we think of the person and all of that, but we are just trying to keep things on the up and up. And with that, thanks for watching and listening.
This has been episode 45. Murder with My Mother, where I talk murder with my mother. Bye, guys.
Bye.